prosecutor files a brief, which is the argument, and the judge now either complies with the law or doesn't. So my case came before these prosecutor and the judge. Because I was able to present a narrative of my life, they was able to present it to the judge, present it to the prosecutor. The prosecutor had agreed, upon reading the narrative, and just agreed in general, to give me a resentence, and also agreed in the sentence agreement to give me time served. The judge agreed to it as well. And the same prosecutor who sentenced me as a 17-year-old in 1988 was the same prosecutor who resentenced me to time served in 2016. That's amazing.
Antonio Espree was released on April 6, 2017, after spending over 29 years in prison. He was then 46 years old.
How much of your original case file information and evidence did they go over? Any of it? Or were they really just looking at what you had done since you had been in prison? Did they look at any of the facts from the actual shooting? Did any of your attorneys go out on a limb and say that the evidence might have been flimsy, or did nobody feel that way?
It has never come up outside of earlier
appeals that your public defender made?
That my public defender made.
They probably didn't have much else to say other than,
exactly.
Lack of sufficient evidence.
Exactly. Those appeals is always denied.
So it was all based on merit and things like that.
Yep.
So when your attorneys filed this motion, did they reach out to the family of your victim to see if they had anything to say about you being resentenced?
So my lead attorney had hired a specialist who usually works with victims and those who committed the crime to come together, mediation. So this attorney came in, did the work locating my victim's family member, which is his mother and daughter. The mother had always forgiven since being waived from probate court to stand trial as an adult. The mother has always, in each phase, forgiven me. The daughter, however, grew up hating. And Shanetta, who is the daughter, hated me because of the fact that I took her father away from her. After the mitigation attorney was able to reach Shanetta and talk to her about being able to talk to me about, whatever she was experiencing. At first she denied it. And then eventually she said, okay, I'll talk to him. And so the conversation was going to be where she would go to my attorney's office, my lead attorney's office. She would talk to me over the phone because I was still incarcerated. She came where she was able to do it, and her intentions was to let me know how she felt. She turned around and instead listened to me talk to her and explained to her what had happened to her father. And we had a conversation. Shanetta ended up forgiving me. Once she forgave me, she didn't want to talk about that anymore. She wanted to talk about, me, what kind of family I came from. What would I do if I was to be let go from prison? From there, the conversation just talked about her and her personal life. Her having children, running a business, all those particular things. The mitigation attorney was able to get the mother and Shanetta to do affidavits in support of me being resentenced, in support of me being paroled, being released from prison. And they both done it and signed it and, have been supporters of me returning back out here to society. Yeah, it's been a positive end because my word to Shanetta was, when I return back out to society, I just don't want to get out of prison, but I want to make a difference. And here's how I'm going to make a difference. For Shanetta to be able to see, her forgiving me, she didn't forgive the wrong man. That to me is, what forgiveness is about. I don't think it's a second chance, but I think that it's a first chance. And having a first chance to be able to live life, and make use of your life by being a contributor. How you can help be there for somebody to prevent them from doing what you've done, recreating that cycle. That's how you contribute back. That's how you give back and more. While in prison, my mother ended up passing away. She had developed a rare disease. It was some kind of cancer. So she ended up passing away. Of course, if you're doing a natural life sentence in Michigan, they didn't allow you to go to a funeral or none of those things. My older brother, he ended up getting murdered probably a week or two before my mother passed away, same month. The only other family members that I relied upon or really stayed in contact with was my cousin Merlin. In fact, his mother had took me in when I was put out the house before. I always would spend a weekend growing up with Marlon. We'd go bowling, go out to the mall together, and just do different things together. My little brother, our communications, once I was incarcerated, it was periodically. He's 35. He's in Dallas, Texas. I seen him a couple of months after I got out of prison.
What happened to your stepdad?
I don't know.
Your brother doesn't know either?
He doesn't stay in contact with because of how he not only come to learn about his father, but because his father wasn't there for him, and he's not there for him now. So, talking about my cousin Marlon, was a strong supporter of me throughout the duration of my incarceration. He would come visit me when he could. He made sure he would send me money when he had it, talk to him on the phone, just a supporter. But I always knew that he was going to be somebody great in the education field because he loved school. He was, at that time, going to school for his PhD. Even throughout all that, he was a strong supporter of me until he got it, his PhD, earned it, started teaching. And as someone who understood the system, understands, what's going on in life, we can have real good conversations. And through the work that I was doing at that time in prison allowed me to be able to understand how important it is for me to have some kind of structure in my life if I, was able to get out of prison. What that structure would look like. I talked to Marlon about that, being able to come live with you. What would that look like? He was, again, another strong supporter and became an advocate for, if you ever got out, come live with me. And when you do, I'm going to make sure it's enough people in the community that can support you and help you in your transition. So Marlon became a key factor in the judge and in the prosecutor and the parole board agreeing to let me out. Marlon was able to help me once I got out here to get enrolled into Arizona State University. Once becoming enrolled, I had to, of course, for my first year, to establish my residency, go to school online. Last semester was my first semester, being able to go to school in person, have classes with other students. I hadn't been in a classroom setting like that in decades. I'm going to school at Arizona State University now, and I'm majoring in justice studies, the School of Social Transformation. I also work as a student worker for Arizona State University at Lodestar Center for Philanthropy and Nonprofit Innovation. And it's the college program for the incarcerated women at Perryville Prison. And we partner with Gateway Community College and Rio Salada College, private philanthropists that donate money for the women that had their scholarships to be able to not just do something to do it while they're in prison, but to help them change their lives and to be able to be in a better position when they do get out of prison because they've obtained their degree. I also do work within the community with Arizona Justice Project, different attorneys, just consultation work around the issues, mass incarceration, school to prison pipeline, and dealing with our juveniles. And so I volunteer the Youth Detention Center in Florence, Arizona, where I talk to young kids from the ages of 13 to 17. I also do work in Michigan. Next month, I'll be flying to the University of Michigan to speak in a panel discussion. Also work with a professor. She's a director of this program called PCAP, Prisoner Creative Arts Program, where it teaches prisoners how they can do drama, music, poetry. So I'll be speaking before her class and then be doing a appointment at Michigan National Public Radio Station while I'm there as well. So there's some commitments there. So I'm continuing to, for the past 2 years, not just keep my word to Shanetta, but to show the possibility of someone being able to return back to society after doing over 29 plus years inside of the Michigan Department of Corrections. That you're capable of being successful, that you're capable of being able to live in society and not be stigmatized or not be labeled or not be a burden upon the state or city. But you could be productive and you could continue to be inspired by what you can accomplish and achieve, even if you're taking it one step at a time, one day at a time.
Now in 2019, how do you feel about the future every day when you wake up?
I feel great about the future. The future has not been more clear for me because my future continues to entail working to advocate for our young people and knowing that as I get closer to obtaining my degree, that I'll be able to start a nonprofit organization to work with our young people as a preventive measure. The future entails me continuing to be the change that I know that can be not just seen, but be felt. People need to feel change, not just see that this happen. That's what a future looks like, as I'm out here in society living.
Thanks to Tony for speaking with me. And thanks so much to you lovelies for joining me on episode 29, and I hope you found Antonio's interview an interesting change from our usual format. Coming up on Monday, March 25th from 7 to 11 p.m. in the Speakeasy at Golden Road Brewing in Los Angeles, California, the Pros and Cons podcast is hosting Macabre Mondays, a gathering of like-minded lovers of the dark and demented. If you're in the Los Angeles area, come by for some true crime time. Don't forget to check out the True Crime Podcast Festival taking place in Chicago this July. The lineup of podcasts is growing every day. See you soon for the start of our first multiple-part series, unless some breaking news comes from out of the blue, as it often does. But until next time, lovelies, don't be scared.